I would like to share some ideas about our approach to CSR in Catalonia and in Barcelona, about how we understand CSR and some relevant initiatives in last years in Catalonia. First of all, in all the main programs, projects, initiatives in Catalonia and in Barcelona, we use an expression. We say sustainable competitiveness. It's important to highlight this expression because it means that we don't understand CSR just in a philanthropia approach. We don't understand CSR just an environmental approach. We don't understand CSR just an workforce approach. We understand that CSR is really using the 5 vectors: workforce, economic impacts, governance, and environmental and social one. One company has to decide how to combine all of them, but you have to take it all into account, not just one. If you just have an environmental approach, you just are doing environmental management, not CSR. It's important to understand that in our approach, that in fact is the CSR approach. What is important for us? Just one slide to express that idea. First of all, we understand that a company that is taking CSR in its management, it's important to define a commitment, so to define values, to introduce ethics, but it's not enough. For a company, furthermore of this commitment, it's necessary to give a result, to give impact, to create sustainability. I am using 2 values, ethics and sustainability, one at the beginning, the other at the end. Is that enough to speak of CSR? No, I think that it's not enough. We have to assure that a company, that an organization is able to assure that it's possible to go from this commitment to the result. And for this, it's necessary to speak about management, to speak about some methodological aspects, especially identifying materiality. So what have I to do to be a socially responsible company? Identifying, and dialogue of course, with stakeholders. It's important to understand what society is expecting from my company and to define best practices and to create, to socially innovate. It's necessary, of course, to do best practices and to have initiatives and objectives, and of course to have transparency and to explain what you are doing. It's important to understand CSR like this because each country has its own tradition, and of course it's logical, but in every company, in every country, in every people speaking from CSR, there are some bias. Some companies are speaking just of environmental, some enterprises are speaking just about workforce, some other are speaking about good governance. So if we are speaking of CSR, we have to give a global approach, a holistic approach to all these questions. It's important to understand CSR like this. And I'm explaining that because it's the approaching that we are trying to do from the main initiatives, from the government and from some organization of companies in Catalonia. Now I would like to present an initiative that we have put just half a year ago. It was launched. Its name is Respon.cat, Respon.cat. It's a business initiative created by companies its objective is to develop corporate social responsibility in Catalonia. In fact, like in all countries, there is reference initiatives to develop CSR, and this is the Catalan initiative. We are working about this idea on the last 6 years. It has been a slow project to be born because of the crisis and some other questions, but now it is running. We would like to have more companies working on CSR in Catalonia, of course, but the main goal, it's not quantitative but qualitative. Our approach is not just we don't like just to promote companies taking standards. It's not our objective. Of course, standards are good for managing CSR, but our approach is more a cultural one. So how a company can better the responsible leadership, how can better the introduction of CSR in their culture, and how can develop its sustainable competitiveness. That is the main question. We are just at the beginning. We are 34 companies. It's important to remark that half of these companies are large one, and another half are SMEs. It's important to say that, but it's just the beginning. We expect to have all the companies that are most committed in Catalonia in CSR. So in the next 2 years, we hope to be, of course, 100, 200 companies in this organization. We have 4 main streams. The first one, CSR and leadership. I was saying that, well, in fact, I think that it's impossible to manage to develop a responsible company if there is no responsible leadership. So it's important for us to have some forums to meet all the leaders of these companies to better this cultural and strategic approach. The second one is training and development. Is a more technical approach for training of the people, the responsibles of CSR in those companies, and to develop some ideas how to grow with CSR. The third one, promotion of CSR. So it's this line is not for member companies, but for other companies, especially SMEs, to get that more companies manage CSR. In fact, I will explain afterwards these 2 projects that was undertaken some years ago, and now we are going to reply. And the fourth one, CSR and territory, to develop the idea of socially responsible territory. That is one idea that now I'm going to speak a little more. I have to say that Respon.cat, I said that it is a business organization, a business initiative, in fact. Now we are, it has been created under the auspices of the Council of Chambers of Commerce of Catalonia, because in the next months it will become an independent organization, an association, okay? And it's founded by its members, okay? Large companies pay 3,000 per year, and little ones, so SMEs, 1,000 per year. These 2 projects were undertaken by the Council of Chambers, and now we are designing, we are renewing it to do it again. RSPyme, CSR SME, was an important project 6 years ago. 30 SMEs participated in that program to understand how to manage CSR. It was granted, but each company paid for participating in this project. And it was this project, in fact, has been recognized in some European countries. In fact, we have been participating in the last 3 years in a European project, Cogita, with 13 European countries. And this and the next one that I will explain has been two of the main projects that has been selected as a best practices for other countries to try to do something similar. The objective was to provide tools to improve the economic, social, and environmental values in SMEs and to provide individual support to these 30 SMEs. The other project, 3 years ago, Transparencia, was different. The direct participatings weren't SMEs. Here, in this project, Transparencia, it had the collaboration, the partnership of GRI, Global Initiative, Global Reporting Initiative. In fact, 11 large companies participated in this project, giving the opportunity to 5 or 6 SMEs of their supply chain to participate during 1 year to learn how to manage CSR and especially how to make a sustainability report. The large companies participating were those. You can see Nestlé, Esteve, DKV, Mango, Port de Barcelona, Gas Natural, La Caixa, Abacus, DAM, and well, a lot of little SMEs. The objectives support large companies and their suppliers to bring great transparency to supply chain and to promote sustainability reporting among SMEs, provide tools to improve these aspects of CSR, and provide an individual support to 64 companies, 64 SMEs, by a specialist, by an expert. Okay, I will. Another important question. Important because I think that it's one of the questions that Jasper was begging me to explain. It's not that. One of the projects that we are now doing in Respon.cat is to define by a consensus process which are the items, the aspects that are important for a company to manage in CSR, for a company operating in Catalonia, so in a territorial point of view. Which is the question? For a company, what is important to manage the CSR is to understand which are the main impacts of their corporate action, so it's for their sectoral action. Of course, this is the most important approach. Of course, there are a lot of questions that are globally important. CO2 is important globally, so maybe your company, for your company, it's not important CO2 because you have just some office, but nevertheless, it's important because it's important all over the world. But what about other questions in the territory point of view? So understanding territory as one stakeholder. Some companies, well, from Catalonia, of course, but some companies that comes from other countries come here and they say, I know what I have to do to manage my CSR because of my impacts and because of general or global questions, but I don't know what the Catalan society is expecting from my company, so what have I to do? I have to give money maybe to some disabled people, organization, what have I to do? So it's important for a society to define, to communicate for all companies what is important for a society. Of course, we are speaking about not compulsory, about voluntary action, and of course, the more important question is your impacts as a company. But if you want to go beyond your impacts, if you want to take society as a focus for your responsibility, we have to generate a consensus to communicate that. So we are now establishing these processes, and we are defining 8, 9, 10 items, aspects on each of the vectors of CSR. So, for example, social. Immigration in Catalonia has been important in the last 10 years. Our percentage of immigration has been higher than all European countries, so it will be important. It's my opinion now, it's not still a consensus point, but maybe it's important, all that questions that a company can do to tackle with that social question. It's an example. Maybe in environmental aspects, there are a lot of things, of course, that a company can do, but in a territory point of view, maybe how to manage smart city, it's an important question, because there is a Barcelona and Catalonia, a strategy, define a strategy to promote smart city. So all those things that a company can do to better how to manage a smart city and introducing environmental items will be well considered. In social vector, of course, things about social cohesion, or, for instance, how to manage identity, how a company that comes to a society to speak clear, to a nation that is not recognized by the state, how a company has to act, what has to do in a business point of view, or maybe in governance or on economic vector. For us will be important questions about transparency, good governance, about an ethic way to manage companies, especially in that moment that we have in the last years some bad examples. So I think that it will be one of an important questions that we will abord. Last question to express about our model or pattern. Of course, we have been talking about companies and about corporate social responsibility, but we like very much to talk about all the sectors, all the organizations, so public administration too, of course, and social organizations. We have been working on those lines, so not only large companies, little companies, SMEs, but little companies too, and administration and social or cultural, social in the sense of non-lucrative companies. So responsibility is in plural. And last question, when we are trying to develop CSR in all those companies, all those organizations, not just large companies, we are trying to develop socially responsible territories. That is a concept that for the last 10 years we have tried to develop, and there are some little territories in Catalonia and as a country, and of course there are other countries that are maybe with other names, maybe not with this expression, but similar expressions that are trying to not just for a company, not just tackle the own impacts, but how to incorporate social items, and especially how a company or how some organizations, how can identify what I was saying before, how can identify challenges for a territory, how can they create a space, a room to tackle with these challenges, and finally, how can we take CSR and make it an attribute of the territory brand. So these some examples: cities, comarcas, barris, Raval. Okay, so I like to say it's typical to say win-win relations. I like to say triple win relationship. I win, you win, and the context, the other partnership, the other stakeholders also are winning. Thank you very much.